Today I'm going to show you how you can paint your exterior door without taking them off the hinges. This door was in need of a fresh new coat of paint, so the first thing I did was remove all of the hardware. And then what I'll do is I'll take all the loose pieces like the screws and the bolts, and I'll put those in a Ziploc bag or sometimes in a Tupperware just so I don't lose them. After I remove all of the hardware, I'll go ahead and take an old paintbrush and just kind of dust off all the creases and crevices and make sure that no debris is on the door or on the frame. Before we can start painting these doors, we have to clean them. I like to use denatured alcohol or sometimes even Dawn dish soap. My go-to is the denatured alcohol though because it dries really fast and it doesn't leave a film on top of the surface. Now for this project, I'm going to be using Sherwin Emerald Urethane Enamel. Now this is a water-based hybrid paint, but it acts just like a oil-based paint, which makes it super durable and definitely something that I like using on exterior projects, especially up here in upstate New York, where it gets really cold during the winter and fairly hot during the summer. Now what I like to do is I like to take my paintbrush and my roller and just let it sit in the paint for about 20 minutes. And the reason why I do that is because it helps the paint spread easier if they're saturated with the paint. I'm going to be using this 3/8 inch microfiber mini roller. But before I go load this up with paint, the first thing I usually do is delint the roller. Now everybody has their own way of delinting a roller. I like to take a piece of tape and just pass over it 10 or 20 times with the roller. And then if we look close at the tape, this is all the fuzz that would have ended up on your surface if you didn't delint the roller. Now I'm just going to load this up with paint and let it sit for about 20 minutes. And what I usually do is I take a wet rag and cover everything just so that the brush and the roller doesn't dry out. Now the next step is optional, but if you feel that you don't have a steady hand, you can go ahead and mask off all the areas that you don't want the paint to get on. And also, if you didn't feel like removing your doorknob, you can always use tape to mask that off as well. Now to prep the surface, I use a 220 grit sandpaper or a fine sanding sponge just to get rid of all the debris and kind of rough up the surface a little bit. And then after lightly sanding, I clean everything again with some denatured alcohol. Now the painting is fairly simple. I cut in first and then I use my mini roller to follow up. Now personally, I always pick a day that's not too hot, and that way I can take my time painting and I don't have to worry about the paint drying too fast. Now when you're painting your door, you always want to start with the decorative stuff first. Here I'm just cutting in with my brush first, and you always want to pay attention to these corners right here. The paint likes to build up in there and then you end up with runs. Now after completing all of the rectangles on one door, I'll go ahead and open it and then I'll paint the surrounding areas. Now for the white, it's the same process. You just cut in and then you use your mini roller to finish up. And voila, we painted this beautiful red door without having to remove it. Now for the finish, we use semi-gloss on both the white and the red. And if you're looking for the color name and the product, I'll leave those in the description below.